Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're diving into a skill that author Cal Newport calls the superpower of the 21st century: deep work. It's really the key to unlocking a level of productivity and satisfaction you might not even know you have in you. So, let's kick things off with a big question. Have you ever looked at someone and wondered how they get so much done? We all have the same 24 hours, so why do some people seem to achieve 10 times more? Well, spoiler alert, it's not just about raw talent or dumb luck. It's a very specific, learnable skill for focusing that separates the truly exceptional from the merely busy. All right, so before we get to the solution, we've got to understand the problem, right? And the problem is the world we're living in. We are in an age that is basically designed for distraction, a world that actively works against the kind of focus we need to do our absolute best work. At the heart of all this is this constant battle between two totally different kinds of work. On one side, you've got deep work. This is the intense, high-value stuff that really pushes your skills. On the other side, shallow work. Think answering emails, logistical tasks, all that busy work. Now, that stuff is necessary for sure, but it doesn't really move the needle. The real danger here is that for most of us, our days are getting completely swamped by the shallow stuff. You know, the actual science behind why getting interrupted is so bad for us is, well, it's fascinating. A professor named Sophie Leroy came up with this term, attention residue, and it perfectly describes what happens when you switch tasks. See, a part of your brain's attention gets left behind. It gets stuck on the last thing you were doing. It's like your brain can't just flip a switch cleanly. Okay, think about this super common scenario, something we all do a dozen times a day. You're deep into a big project, and you think, I'll just take a quick 30-second peek at my inbox. Seems totally harmless, right? Yeah, not so harmless. That tiny little interruption leaves behind that sticky residue. So even though you're back on your main project, your brain is actually working at a reduced capacity for as long as the next 20 minutes. Every time you switch, it's like you're drilling a tiny hole in your focus. And over time, those little holes add up, and your ability to concentrate just gets weaker and weaker. Okay, so if that's the problem, what's the fix? Let's talk about the antidote, what Newport calls the key to thriving in our crazy modern economy. This is how we start to fight back against all that chaos. So, let's get a crystal clear definition here. What is deep work really? It's the act of focusing with zero distractions on a single, tough task. And this is not just about staying off Twitter. It's about getting into a state of mind where you can truly push yourself to the very edge of your abilities. And you might be asking, why does this matter so much? Well, it's because deep work directly trains the two most valuable skills you can have today. Number one, the ability to learn complicated things fast. And number two, the ability to produce work at an elite level. We're talking top-tier quality and speed. And guess what? Deep work is the engine that drives both of those things. But here's where it gets really cool. Let's look at what's happening inside your brain. When you practice deep work, you are literally changing the physical structure of your brain. See, that intense focus helps build up this fatty tissue called myelin around the specific neurons you're using. Think of myelin like the rubber coating on an electrical wire. It lets that brain circuit fire way faster and cleaner. Basically, getting great at something means you're building up that myelin. Now, here's the good news. This is not a one-size-fits-all deal. You don't have to go live in a cave to do this. Newport lays out 4 totally different philosophies, so you can find a style that actually fits your life and your job. All right, let's walk through these different styles. First up, the monastic style. This one's pretty hardcore. It's about cutting out almost all shallow work. Next is bimodal. This is where you split your time into big chunks. Maybe 4 days a week are for deep work and 1 day is for everything else. Then there's the rhythmic approach, which is probably the go-to for most of us. You just make deep work a consistent habit, like blocking off the first 90 minutes of every single day. And finally, you've got the journalistic approach. This is for people who can switch into deep work mode on a dime, grabbing pockets of focus whenever they can. But look, no matter which style feels right for you, you can't just sit around and wait for inspiration to strike. That's not how it works. Deep work needs a system. You have to build a ritual that makes getting started almost automatic. So how do you build that system? You create a pre-work ritual. Before you even start, you decide on 4 things. Where am I going to work? For how long? What are the rules? Like, am I turning off the internet? And what do I need to support myself, like a cup of coffee? This little routine, this launch sequence, it takes away all the ugh, do I have to feeling and saves your precious willpower for the actual work. And you know what? Knowing how to stop is just as important as knowing how to start. A shutdown ritual is designed to convince your brain that the workday is actually over. You review what you did, you make a quick plan for tomorrow, and you get any of those nagging thoughts out of your head and onto paper. Then you say a phrase out loud, something like shutdown complete. It sounds a little silly, but that phrase is a powerful trigger that tells your brain, okay, we're done for the day. It lets you actually switch off and recharge. And look, this stuff isn't just about getting more done at work. The benefits go way beyond that. This is really about improving the quality of your entire life, just by getting a handle on your own attention. This quote from Cal Newport really hits the nail on the head. If you fill every single spare moment of boredom by scrolling on your phone, you are literally rewiring your brain. Your brain starts to crave that constant stream of new stuff, and that makes deep focus feel, well, almost impossible. So how do you fight back? It's kind of counterintuitive. You have to learn to embrace boredom. First, try scheduling your distractions. Make focus your default setting and distraction the scheduled break. Second, try productive meditation. Use time when you're walking or commuting to just focus on one single professional problem. And third, watch out for the any benefit trap. That's when you justify using a distracting tool just because it offers some tiny, vague benefit while totally ignoring the massive cost to your focus. And this brings us to the ultimate payoff, the real reason this all matters so much. The psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi discovered that people are actually at their happiest not when they're vegging out on the couch, but when they're totally lost in a challenging, meaningful task. He called the state flow, and deep work is one of the most reliable ways to get into that state. So in that sense, deep work isn't just a productivity hack, it's a pathway to a more meaningful and fulfilling life. Look, in a world that's practically drowning in noise and distraction, the ability to concentrate deeply, that is a genuine superpower. It's what allows you to learn, to create, and to perform at your absolute best. So the only real question left is, how are you going to use it?